Hello again, everyone. Hope everyone's doing alright. This is One Life again with a part two of, I guess, just how to how I make my beats and how I set them up. um, I've chosen one I made quite recently today, just because I think it covers quite a lot, a bit like the last beat. And yeah, we'll basically just run through a few things. Now, the melody, as I'm sure those who know me probably know that I don't really make melodies, but this one incidentally was made by me. So um, basically, I I don't really have any plugins for this sort of stuff, so I just basically laid down some melody with the Ace of Space set up for, I believe it's on Flex. So, so yeah, that with the Ace of Space, and this is what I lay down. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a music theory person or anything like that. I basically just played around with some of the root notes and until I got something I liked. I spaced out a few of the keys just to make it sound a bit more natural. But I'm basically just going to show you how you can make cool melodies without necessarily having the technical knowledge or the sort of, the music theory or the fancy plugins or anything like that. I mean, I made this on a stock plugin, and what I did was I recorded it. Fun fact for those who don't know: if you want to just save samples and stuff, you can basically just put it in Edison. So you just whatever you want to record, put it on, say, Insert One. Get the Edison, change that to on play, press record, and then make sure it's the needles right at the start, and then just click play. And then you can literally just grab it from there, and you've got your own sample. So from there, what I did was you're gonna have to excuse me while I set this up. I basically added a destructor to it. So I added destructor, which is a really powerful stock plugin. I think I used Classic Heavy, I believe, or something along the lines of that. And yeah, I used Sound Goodizer to beef it up a bit, and some ozone elements just for a bit of widening. And here's it before. And here's it after. So it gives it that sort of grittiness that I wanted in this specific beat. Now this basically how I made the melody. I just kind of played it, recorded it, threw some filters on it. That's pretty much all there is to it with a lot of these melodies. You can obviously layer it, which is what I'm going to show you now. So I am using my wealth of music theory knowledge. I basically made this choir sound from another stock plugin, another preset on Flex. So So that's just some choir. It works pretty well with the guitar, or the other melody I made. And typically when I make melodies and find samples, which is my main thing I'm known for, is I'll layer at least 2 or 3 of them together. So I've got 2 here, and I've also got this is from, I believe this is Rank 1, Awakening. I think that's the song, and I sampled a bit from here. So yeah, I mean, with those, I didn't add too much with regards to um, effects. I mean, the choirs, I basically just put Fruity Convolver on that, so nothing much there. And with the other melody, I basically just put a delay on there, as you can hear, and a reverb, so just a bit of side effects to make it sound a bit more whole. And then all together. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much the main melody side of it. I also got, if you guys are fans of Blade, this is his Friday Night song with Black Cray. I sampled a bit of that as well. I like it because the twinkles, it sounds a bit like birds chirping. I'm a really big fan of that sort of sound design, so I stole it. and yeah, that's basically the main melody side of things. Now, the next thing I'm going to go on to is the drums again, and with these drums I was a bit different to what I usually do, so I'll show you what I mean by that. We'll start with the layer 1, which is those who watched my first beat breakdown. That's basically the hi-hats and the claps. So layer 1 would be, I'll just play it, I guess. So just the hat and the clap, and then a few effects sprinkled on. I did this pirate sword effect that you can hear. It's pretty funny, but yeah, it just adds something different to the beat, I guess. Sounds a little bit like a perk, so you can sort of get away with it being a drum. I had one snare in there as well. The hi-hats, like I always say in Rip Squad type beats, it's really important. So I sort of, with hi-hats you sort of give it energy in the sense of, you notice here it's pretty calm, and then it just speeds up all of a sudden, and then it goes calm again, and then speeds up a little bit, and then it slows down, and you got to kind of give it that organic randomness that I guess a wave would have or something. You've got to have some bits that are just really chilled, and then it just randomly spazzes out at the end, or vice versa. Now, that's not to say that's the only way to do it, but that's just the way I visualize it best, I guess. So as you can see, it kind of sort of goes like, there's some switch ups, and then there's some sort of climaxes, and there's some low points where it's just a bit basic, and I think that's what when the rolls do happen, it sort of emphasizes it a bit more, and then obviously it switches up again. You've got to sort of think of the hats as having a life of their own and sort of bouncing around organically. Yeah, at least that's how I try and make them sound. And like I always do, just highlight, and then you press the Alt key and then R at the same time, and then you can randomize the velocity slightly just to make it a bit more natural. With the clap, I do what I love doing with these type of beats, as I layer it with the Zaytoven chant. It's a very popular chant used in rap songs, and when you layer it with the clap, it just makes it sound a bit more punchy, so you could sort of hear it. And then the snares are obviously there just to give a little bit of variation. I was quite sparse with them, and you'll probably notice some producers now, especially in a lot of the sort of underground scene, they're sort of toning it down a little bit with the drums. Sort of less is more. But I don't know, that's just what I've seen. And then layer 2, which will be the 808s. So with the 808, basically, just like before, you just have to take the note up, and then just match the note either by ear or just using scale graphs. I can just do it by the sound of it, but it's always good to have the scale graphs there, just because it's just good to know anyway, I guess. So you kind of hear it there. But yeah, once you've kind of found that, you just lower it, stick a really sort of basic EQ on it, where you're just making the highs higher and the lows a little bit higher, and then soft clipper, threshold all the way down, and then just adjust the post till it sounds good, basically. And then, so yeah, that was layer 2, and then layer 3, basically, I try to spice it up a bit by adding some other drums, adding some snares and whatnot. So I'll try and play that here. So you can see it just transition now. So this is just another kind of creative control aspect you guys have got to think about. I literally just played around with some snares and pitched them up and down until I kind of something sounded good. It's just a bit of improvisation, and you'll be surprised what you can find if you just play around with drums and pitching them up, pitching them down, and sort of putting slides on hi-hats and stuff. You'll be surprised. But yeah, this is just a snare that's pitched start. And I feel like it gives it this sort of chopper, sort of like a helicopter chopper effect when they're layered with the hats, and it sounds pretty cool. So, especially like the song itself is sort of sword themed, so it kind of plays into that. Sounds like you're chopping stuff or something like that. And obviously this would be layer 3, so it would just have a few extras sprinkled in. So it's a triangle and open hat at the start. I like putting an open hat at the start of the 808 or the kick hit, just because it sort of makes it hit a bit harder. I mean, and yeah, like I always do, I have layer 1 on its own, and then I'll bring, layer 1 with layer 2, and then I'll do layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3, and I'll usually bring the kicks in when layer 3 comes in, so the kicks will come in when these choppy snare thingies happen. So I'll basically show you here. So yeah, you can see that the kick pattern changes too. So I've basically got I've got a kick pattern for when the 808's there. And then there's another one that sort of gives it a bit more energy when the song's sort of picking up. Now here's a little bit of source. Lucy loves doing this. When he does his drums, I found he does these little groups of doubles. See, he'll have them like here, and he'll vary it with a double that's a bit more far apart. So he'll go da 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 da. So. And it's quite effective, especially when you mix them properly and have them separated, the right way. I'm just going to quickly show you the mixing on the third layer, just while I'm here. Just going to show. So it's just the triangles. And whatnot. I mean, I'm quite conservative, I guess, when it comes to mixing. In general, a lot of these sounds, like I've said before, are mixed and mastered already, so you don't really need to touch them much. I mean, the triangle. Just put a little bit of reverb on it. And then the open hat, just put a filter on it. Yeah, it's just basically play around with the EQs and filters until you feel like the beat fits together well. And what I mean by that is make sure that there's not too many highs, too many lows, etc. I mean, if there's a lot of highs going on in this, especially in this song, there's a lot of high-pitched melodies and high-key melodies. So I was aware of that, and I tried to take a bit of the highs out of some of these, just to sort of allow room for the highs in general. And yeah, you've basically got to, I mean, the way I treat all of my songs, I guess, is a bit like a painting where you're mixing the colors, but you shouldn't be afraid to write over what already exists. You could just paint over it. But you've got to have different colors and different styles, and yeah, I guess the way the hi-hats and the other drums work together, you can treat it a bit like a painting with colors. And I've added a few funky snare rolls, just sort of right before a drop or right before the next part of the beat, sort of makes that transition sound a bit harder, basically. And this snare roll, I think snares are probably one of the most powerful drums, so So if you notice, I've put just an EQ on it, like I do in most of my stuff, just to sort of try and cut where I can, and make room for the lows and the highs, etc. But I've also added a love filter and done twinkle. Now what that does is it makes the snares themselves pan between the left and right ear, and then when you combine that with the randomizer, you've basically got a really natural, organic sort of sound, and I think it gives a lot of depth to trap beats, especially in that specific frequency region. So you can sort of hear it subtly in the background. And then and I guess there's a few other things I've added in. I mean, when I say this is like a painting, this is sort of finishing touches and, you know, bits of shading you want to sprinkle on. So this is a flute, and it's just one note of the flute. So if I play that now, and that's pretty much it. I actually didn't put anything on this flute. It's literally a bare bones stock. It's either stock or no, it's on flex actually. This is where I get most of my sounds, by the way. It's really powerful as a stock plugin. Yeah, I just had a flute in the background just to add a little bit more texture to the beat. It's not something you really notice unless you listen out for it, especially when the drums come in. Now, the final sort of things I've done to spice the beat up a bit. I mean, I guess if you don't treat it like a painting, you're sort of treating it like you're cooking, as weird as it sounds. But I've basically sprinkled in some other effects. I mean, I've just got the classic ripsquad riser. You've got to remember the beat will have about usually 2 to 6 transition points. When I say transition point, I mean a break where the beat switches up, or you go into a break, or the build up for the first drop. Now at these transition points, it's really important to have at least 1 or 2 risers or sucks or swooshes, like, and then obviously something for the other side for when it lands. So I've put a few effects in here, and I've also put this. This is I will release a kit someday and include this because a lot of people have been asking about it. So altogether, the sort of inflection point of the beat on the 8th bar, the end of the 8th bar, and it makes the drops sound so much better. Promise you. So you can notice here. And especially when the layers of drums and the kick are all layered together with that, it punches so well. And I think it just basically will make your beats sound harder in the long run. Now that's pretty much everything with this beat. I really, I mean, the theme of this beat is sword style. So I mean, I've got the sword sound effects. I've got the kind of choppy hat effects. I've got some other slash sounds. And I mean, personally with me, I always value the theme and the energy of the song itself really highly when I make beats. So I'll think of the theme of the song a lot of the times before I've even made the song. So it could be, I mean, this one is all about, like, it's just sword sound effects, slashes, etc. I mean, it could be about the ocean and having water effects, or it could just be about the sky and having birds or whatever. But when you sort of find a common theme with the song and have parts of that theme embedded in the song, and you have the name or like artwork to go with it. And the song name is really important too. I can write a whole video on that. But when you've got all of that together, that's how you've got to look at a song. People focus far too much on the beat itself and forget about the, I guess, the energy behind it and the symbolism and whatnot. So I value that really highly personally. Just, having the right name and the right artwork and the right sort of aesthetic, I guess, and the right it does add a lot to a beat. And the example I always use is how many songs have you heard that the music video will make it sound better in a way? Like the music video kind of makes the song harder. And yeah, it plays into my point of it's an entire mixture of the production, the way you put the beat together, the name you've chosen, the artwork. I think people should put a lot more stock in that, and that's just from my experience. And yeah, I guess the final point would be, once I've mixed everything, is the secret sauce with the kick. Now, I get asked this a lot. How I make my kick sound so punchy, and I'm going to show you guys the sauce. Now, it's so much more simple than you guys think, but basically, where is it? Insert 8. It's just a case of using the EQ and just EQing it, like I always say, a bit high in the high region, and then a little bit high in the low region as well, and then just a sound goodizer. So this is without. You can hear it without, and now with. Now, when I say sound goodizer, I'm not meaning like get 10 of them and turn them all up to the max. I just literally mean use it very sparingly. Put it like, I don't know, like 5 or 10% on insert A, and then it will make your kicks punch through the 808. I think sound goodizer itself is basically Maximus, which is FL's default mastering tool. I think it's basically Maximus. So it's sort of a cheat way to master your kicks and make them punch. And yeah, it will punch with the 808. So I'll just quickly play the beat up to the 16th bar, just so you kind of have an idea of everything that I've shown you all together in one. And yeah, I'll just play that now. So that was pretty much everything, and then I will show you guys again with regards to the mastering. With the I'd use the original EQ and then just put the middle, the high, and the low. A tiny bit high just basically makes your beat a bit more spatial and separates it out a tiny bit more, and then just a soft clipper on the master, just a default one, nothing fancy. You don't need to touch these, and then the U-lean loudness meter. So just make sure that integrated is around -12, and then ideally the volume will be below 0, but you can't always avoid that. So I've done pretty well on this one, but I have moved some stuff around, so it could have changed a few things. Um, but yeah, I mean the ultimate takeaway from this, that I want you guys to, you know, at least if you're going to come away with one thing, come away with this, and it's uh, have fun, you know, like especially when making beats and making music. I can't tell you the amount of times where some of my best beats have come from just me, you know, fucking around, um, moving things around on FL. And there's no rule book. I mean, music isn't like maths and science where there is an answer and you've got it wrong. I mean, it's completely subjective and it's an art. So my rule's always been, as long as you think it sounds good and it sounds good to you, then that's your style, and don't try and deviate from that unless you genuinely think it sounds, you know, dog shit. Um, and and yeah, I mean, I personally don't really have any technical ability. Like, I don't come from a music background. I mean, I've played guitar most of my life, but I do not. I mean, it took me about half an hour to figure out how to work OBS to do this. So I'm not a very technical person, but that didn't stop me from, you know, making music and doing what I love doing. And another thing I'll say is, if you're really feeling uninspired and you're like, I don't know what to make, like none of these beats are sounding good, like it's just dog shit, then just take a break from making music for a bit. I mean, I do that all the time. I can go weeks or months without making a beat, and then I can just make beats for 3 weeks straight. It depends on your vibe and your mood, but I would never force it. That's just my personal advice. But yeah, if there's any other songs you want me to cover or videos you want me to do in the future, just leave it in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys for supporting me all this time. You're the reason I still do this. So yeah, just keep supporting the channel, and yeah, peace.